So Lawrence, thank you once again for this wonderful special session, helping all of us around the world on the cloud journey. We started 3-4 months back on this similar session where a lot of people around the world got what is cloud, and to tell you, we have 30 people around the world who actually got certification with AZ-900. So thank you so much for your help to the community around the world, selflessly. That helped a lot to the people. I have been receiving a lot of feedback on those sessions which you asked me to moderate. And then we have been continuously receiving a lot of feedback from the people that is there anything happening. So on the similar note, thank you once again for this session and for the, I see people from the various part of these countries. So in a moment, I will also open up for them to question you on this session. So this session is more about if anybody want to start the cloud journey, given the situation which is happening around the world, where should they start? Today in the industry, as well as a lot of this educational series, institutes, there is too much of noise. You are the one who actually removed that noise from the actual problem when we started the sessions actually. So during our conversation, which I will ask you 10 questions on cloud, the participants will take away where to start, how to progress, and how to keep on focusing on the cloud journey. So with that, Lawrence, let me give you some time to talk about yourself. Why don't you start about yourself and give an audience about who you are rather than me telling who you are, and then we will start from there.
Sure. Yeah, Joe, first of all, thank you for having me, and everyone, thank you for attending this session. My name is Lawrence Manikam. I'm the founder of KubeWriter Inc., a DevOps startup company. I'm in IT for the last 24 years with a heavy infrastructure background and application deployment. Once the cloud started picking up, I came into cloud DevOps area. My primary practice areas are cloud computing, Kubernetes, Docker, and the core is application deployment. That's my skill set. Joe met with me through LinkedIn 6 months ago. Then we started connecting. Joe has a group called DevOps and Cloud Babies in WhatsApp. Through that group, we trained a lot of people because during this COVID-19 time, we want to do it as a service for the community to train people. We trained a lot of people in the last 3-4 months time frame, and approximately 30 to 35 people got AZ-900 certification as of today. That made me publish my Udemy course also. The Udemy course came last week, and it is available online. So this is all about me. Yeah, I live in Vancouver, Canada, West Coast.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Lawrence, for that quick introduction.
No
so let's start with cloud. So my first question, Lawrence, to you is, when everybody's talking about cloud, could you give us a gist of how this cloud came and a bit of an history about this, what actually is cloud?
The thought about cloud is for a very long time. In fact, when we started talking about these outsourcing models, managed services, it was year 2000 and 2002 in GE. I was in New York. Later, the cloud started gaining momentum during the financial recession. The financial recession made the CIOs to think about the heavy capital expenditure on-premise. What happened, right? They were not able to upgrade the systems and application for more than 3 or 4 years. So when we came into the year 2011, after the financial recovery, almost every data center became old. It was a very hard deal, to upgrade them, modify the applications, and almost 50% of data center became legacy. So the CIOs needed something to be convenient, not the complete outsource, but convenient to provision, and they want someone to manage their computers. So that's when the cloud computing started becoming famous. So Amazon came in 2008, this cloud computing started becoming famous in 2011. Then we also had complementary technologies, right? Companies like VMware started picking up in 2010 and all. So we needed to have a solid technology to support the cloud. So we all waited until 2010, then 2011 started, coming up. Now we have, and I would say now we have some amount of good maturity in the cloud to host our applications.
Okay, thanks, Lawrence, for that.
Yeah.
So you spoke about the CTO and the focus on the budget, a lot of infrastructure on premises. So today in the industry, if you see, there are a lot of cloud providers, and then there are a lot of cloud service providers. So if somebody want to differentiate between these two, who are the primary providers and who are basically taken the services from them and started giving some offering. So how do you start differentiating these two, your thoughts?
The leading cloud providers in the market are Amazon Web Services, Azure, and Google Cloud. They all have their own fair share of market for various reasons. For example, take Azure as an example. Azure, Microsoft has well-established accounts for more than 40 years in the market, and they replicated the similar concepts into cloud, like SQL Server, Active Directory, Microsoft Dynamics, Office 365, and all. They brought into the cloud. So when they do that, right, naturally the customers who is using those tools in on-premise, they go to Azure Cloud. AWS came yearly. They support retail market, so that they do well in the market too. Then Google Cloud went with big accounts, right? They're targeting primarily big accounts. And Kubernetes is a big boost for Google Cloud, since it came from Google, and the GKE is doing well in good markets. Then geography-based cloud company like Alibaba doing well in Asian countries. It depends, right, what people want to choose and the futures. And as you know, multi-cloud is growing because customer want a perfect solution. One cloud is not providing them with the perfect solution. So they want to combine all cloud together and try to get a better solution for themselves. Apart from that, we have a lot of private cloud providers, right? The statistics says, we have almost 7,000 private cloud providers in United States alone. So the service, governments and utilities and local companies, they do it in various ways.
Oh, that's nice to know, Lawrence, because, in the industry, when you ask this kind of question or when you quest for knowledge for this kind of thing, you get too much information, but I would say not information, too much data, but less information. I think you made a very good clarity about 7,000 private cloud in US itself. Okay?
Providers, private
this
cloud
kind
providers,
of the
yes.
providers, and this kind of insights only come when you get your hands dirty and deep into the industry what's actually happening.
Exactly, you had to be there. You had to be in the industry to know that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yes.
I completely agree. Now, on the similar line, you touched upon the private cloud. So, if somebody want to know, okay, what are the different categories of cloud? You touched upon private cloud. You spoke about multi-cloud a while ago. So, what are the different categories of cloud? If somebody want to know on this.
I depend upon the NIST definition, National Institute of Standards and Technologies. It's a US government organization that writes standards for technology for the last 100 years. They wrote a very good definition back in 2011 for cloud computing. It is still valid. So they divide them into 4 categories: public, private, hybrid, and community cloud. Public cloud, we all know. You can access public cloud using internet. We have Amazon Web Services, Azure, Google, Alibaba, IBM, Oracle, right? We have a lot of players in the market with the public cloud. The private cloud is a little complex to understand. Depends upon the requirement. The private cloud, when we started private cloud back in 2011 and 12 during the time, a lot of companies wanted to have private cloud because they wanted to secure the data. I set up private cloud for a very big shipping company in America. And they built the private cloud within the data center. Their objective is to have a self-service portal to provision infrastructure components such as virtual machine storage and all, so they can avoid those, the paper-based process. So that is one form of private cloud. Then I went to one of the state government in America to set up their private cloud in 2014 timeframe. The state government have around 75 agencies, right? One of the agencies, the smallest agency, has around 4 employees, but they still maintain their own servers, for a long time. So the state government wanted to establish a separate information technology and build the private cloud. They called a vendor, they called a very big state vendor, and they gave the land to build the data center. So by owning the land, the government has full control on the data center. The private cloud provider came and built the data center, and all 75 agencies started using the private cloud. So the concept of private cloud, it can be at your own data center. It can be at your land with the data center owned by a third-party provider. Sometimes, right, you give it to them all together. Right, one of the state government, right, hired a data center and they gave it to them. All we got is a portal to provision our resources. So different form of varieties are there. Even we go one more advanced level today. Just recently, 6 months ago, I worked with a client on Microsoft Azure. What we did, we implemented our private cloud inside the public cloud. This is called bring your own key concept. When you do that, what will happen? The public cloud provider gives you machines and everything. You can use the same portal, no difference at all. But the public cloud provider has no access to physical servers that is sitting in the data center. They have only one rights. They can power it off and they can pull it out. They can do that, but they can't get into the physical server. So sometimes when they ask me, what I tell them, we built a private cloud within the public cloud. So the definitions keep changing for private cloud for a long time. But most importantly, remember, when we say private cloud, the objective is to protect your assets, protect your data, 100% control you have for the business. That is private cloud. Then coming to this this hybrid cloud model, 2-in-1 is always the concept, right? We had radio, then we got tape recorder. Then what happened? We combined together, right? We call them 2-in-1. Similarly, right, whenever two unique functionalities comes up, we combine them together, call it 2-in-1. Hybrid cloud is 2-in-1. Even though the definition says, private plus public cloud combination, not necessary, right? It could be public plus your own data center too. Some legacy systems, ERP systems, it is hard to move to the cloud or they don't have the provisioning. So what we do, we put some applications and their components into public cloud. We connect them to a data center using a dedicated network that is called a hybrid cloud. The fourth category is the community cloud. Community cloud is for a specific community purpose. Like if you look at the Ivy League universities, they have their own cloud. Their admission process, how they see the score, like GRE, TOEFL, those kind of score, right? Assessing students, same thing. So for conducting the same chart of business functions, they have their own private cloud. Banks in New York, right? JP Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs, they have their own private cloud to protect the data with their own banking standards. So that is called the community cloud. So apart from this 4 definition, other one is started gaining momentum, multi-cloud. Right? Multi-cloud, happens for 2 reasons. Accidental. I know a client, who started using Amazon Web Services in 2017. Right? They built their DevOps pipeline in AWS. Later, when they wanted to put some IBM components into that public cloud, AWS, the licensing did not support. Then they went and put the component into Azure. So because of the different licensing requirement, right, they got 2 clouds, then Google Cloud came in. Now they have 3 clouds and on-premise. So that is accidental, right? You started with 1 cloud. Down the road, 2-3 years, you think, okay, this cloud, is not supporting some of my requirements, and I go to the 2nd and 3rd cloud. That's why multi-cloud happen for many clients. Second category is driving the requirements, right? Cloud don't give you everything. One cloud don't give you everything, right? Sometimes the functionality is not available. For example, one of the client in Cleveland, they started implementing at Amazon Web Services. They wanted to implement that web filtering functionality. They wanted to restrict their application in certain geographies, right? AWS had the facility, but only in Virginia. But this client did not want to go to Virginia. the started hosting few applications at Azure. So requirements, accidental requirements, pricing, then thought about the real high availability, right? We know that, some public cloud got outage in the past, even 1 day, 2 days outage, we got it. If that happens, what they can do, they can depend upon the other cloud provider. Now they want to make something like active between two different public cloud providers. So multi-cloud is a very growing area. It is for pricing, feature, and whatever they want to get. They also have some comparison. If one cloud provider charges them a lot at some point, then they can assess the pricing. They can go and say this cloud provider gives me this, right? So they have more control on pricing, and they're at the negotiation level. Negotiation is improving for them. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's nice to know. So it looks like multi-cloud accident, not by choice, by necessity.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's good. So you spoke about the multi-cloud, private cloud, public cloud, and community cloud. Now I will shift a focus a little bit to the participants. Somebody like me, when I started my cloud journey last year, I got totally confused with the internet flood. And then when we started talking today, I'm very happy to see some of the multi-cloud knowledge over the last 6 months, which I gained with your support and with your vast amount of knowledge when we started.
Thank you.
So similar to that, if you could advise some of us from the participants also, I see some of them joined, where they should start, from which cloud provider they should start. What would be your view on this?
Okay. With the present condition, right, I would encourage them to start with Azure Cloud. I did work on almost all three clouds the last 6 years. I did 3-4 implementation at AWS, Azure T implementation, GCP T implementation. I continuously working on all cloud. One of the reason I encourage people to do Azure these days, the growth. In the last year alone, Azure got 62% market growth in the industry. They're growing fast, growing area. The second thing, Microsoft is a well-established company for a very long time. Right, as of today, right, if you look at all these, data theft or any kind of data breach and all, we never had complaint on Microsoft. Did you watch that one, Joe? And there is no complaint on them, right? All companies got a data breach, but they protect the data, very well, so that the trust level about Azure is very high. The third thing for the engineers, right, I tell them, right, when you want to look for something that has a dual purpose. For example, right, you have someone in your circle who want to learn cloud. You can tell them, right, hey, go on to Microsoft Azure, right, become a specialist in Active Directory or SQL Server to start with. So when they learn something in the cloud with SQL Server and Active Directory, again, on-premises have the same set of servers, right? And we have on-premise Active Directory, we have on-premise SQL Server. We are not moving from cloud. We are not moving from data center completely. We still have them. So by accumulating the knowledge in the cloud for the products, you can apply the same knowledge in the on-premise too. And other cloud providers such as AWS and GCP, they're not a product companies, right? The services companies came into cloud. So customers are still implementing the SQL Server, adding into their cloud. So you can go and work on that cloud also. So your job opportunities are increasing by learning those, product set. So from my thought process, I would recommend to start with Microsoft Azure. The other important thing, Microsoft Azure is the only company that gives the fundamental certification, a very detailed fundamental certification, AZ-900. So by learning the certification and passing that one, not only with Azure, a person can become familiar with other clouds also. That will help them. So I would suggest Microsoft Azure to start with. Then maybe they will find their own way after some time.
Thank you, Lawrence. No, I completely agree on that, and I can bet on that.
Yeah.
When I was trying to learn multi-cloud, almost like 4 or 5 months went, I just could not start properly until we started talking about it. And I started with Azure Foundation first. And then today I got few more on the AWS and along with Azure. But what you said is right, absolutely right on this. So on the similar line, Lawrence, would you know if somebody wants to start with Azure Foundation, does Azure give some kind of free account or free amount of time in cloud. So somebody just want to do practice, get to know what's Azure Cloud, and then later on they can replicate whatever they have learned from Azure as a starting point, then go to some other cloud providers. As you said, multi-cloud is the new terminology nowadays.
Definitely, Microsoft Azure gives a free trial account for 1 year. Anyone with an email address and credit card can open the account. First 1 month, they give you credit. I think currently they're giving $250 or something for 1 month. You can't use that money to buy product from the marketplace, but you can use to provision some services and use that credit to run some components. So what will happen after 1 month? After 1 month, right, you will not have access to every service at Azure. You will have free trial for 11 months, but whatever services you created during that 1 month time frame will be deleted after 1 month. You will still create some services and practice that will not stop you, but the 1 year time frame comes with that type of conditions. So mostly they're very lenient about virtual machines, allocating storage, networking, and all with the 1 year account. But 1 month is very very sufficient to pick up the core concepts of several components.
Okay. Thanks, Lawrence. What I'll do is I will shift it, rather than me asking a question. I will take one question from the audience to see if they have any question. Then we will continue. So, audience, if you have a question, I would like to take one question for Lawrence. If you have a question, say your name and ask your question. Go ahead.
Yep. So this is Ravi from Kuala Lumpur.
Hi, Ravi.
Thanks, Lawrence. Yeah, thanks, Lawrence, for the insightful talk and the sessions, because I do subscribe to your Udemy course.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really useful, really understanding, like the one who doesn't know anything about the infrastructure. So it starts from the ground, like what is the infrastructure? How does it differences, like how the VM is different from the cloud virtual machine. So those things, it's really amazing one. So thanks for that, and thanks Joe for moderating that. But I do have a question in terms of like what you explain about the private and public cloud. So when it comes to the private cloud, see, for example, if an organization wants to set up a private cloud, so they do own the estate, like they do own the infrastructure, like the hardware and machines they can procure. But still there is a dependency, I feel, that with the cloud providers, like any private cloud providers, right? So how do you ensure the trust level? You were mentioning that like when we go with the Microsoft Azure, so we do have a trust level. Trust factor is high compared to the other providers. So the similar sense. So how do we ensure the trust level with the private cloud providers? Still there is a dependency. Still we own the infrastructure, but the infrastructure or softwares or whatever the provisioning is being done by the private cloud providers. So how do we ensure that the security and
That's a good question, Ravi Kumar. It's a very broad question. Eventually, right, looking into the private cloud concept is just another data center, right? With the private cloud concept, right, you cannot avoid the capital expenditure, right? Public cloud is completely operational expenditure, 100%. Private cloud is, capital plus operational expenditure. So what we do, right, we go through a very stringent RFP process to find the right private cloud provider. We don't go to everybody else. Then, sometimes, the private cloud provider make an agreement with the client, right? They literally tell us, right, I don't want you to guys, to come often and disturb us, right? You have to tell us how many times you'll come in the year, right? We make surprise visits, right? That doesn't matter, but not every month, right? They tell us, okay, you can come 3 times in a year, you can come anytime and take a look at the facility. We have our own engineers, we go and, check all those infrastructure and come back and all. There is always a risk, when you put your machines outside of your premises. There's always a risk there, right? How to mitigate the risk is the question, right? How to mitigate it? Then you can't avoid it, right? You have to mitigate it. So we have these legal agreements, service level agreements, right? When to visit. Sometimes, right, one of the state agency, right, what they do when they give to the private cloud, they send 20% of employees to sit at the private cloud data center. They made an agreement. So they can keep an eye on what people are doing and that. but it is very hard to skim data from the data center, right? We have these jammers, we don't have open cables anymore. Those days gone, right? Some data centers you go nearby, your cell phone stop working. They don't work. You can't do anything wireless. It's gone. The most of the time, right? The data that is happening in transit, right? In transit is always vulnerable. So we have dedicated network. We try to avoid that one. But most importantly, right? Anything the data breach or anything that comes, it comes with a cost. We have insurance. We have service level agreement. We have legal agreement. And which one execute first will control that data protection, not technology completely.
Okay, I see. Thanks, Lawrence. I wanted to take one question from that audience.
Yeah.
So
sure.
continuing on this, Lawrence, you spoke about service level agreements.
Mm-hmm.
You spoke about what are the features available within on-premises and within cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So on that aspect, if a company want to know what is my availability and how these cloud providers can manage my, if in case any failure happen, the fault tolerance within Elasticity, these terminologies, when people start talking, they go much more into technical, and then it's very hard to understand what exactly these terminologies. Would you like to give a bit of an insight of fault tolerance, availability, and elasticity when they talk about cloud?
Definitely, Joe. So the type of high availability and disaster recovery, right? The two components are very expensive components in on-premise. We do that for a very long time. We did a lot of exercise for disaster recovery and business continuity planning. So the thing is, right? So the DR is expensive, right? The maintenance is very hard. You do everything at primary. Sometimes people forget to replicate the changes in the secondary data center, right? So when the disaster happens, again, you have to go through a lot of manual work, right, to make the DR function. Retail companies like Kohl's, Nordstrom, they all have challenges during the season. I see them for a very long time. So what happens, right? They have say 2 million customers throughout the year. During the month of November, it becomes 4 million. Just for the time period, right? They're not able to buy new hardware or provision. So what they did, they also started using the disaster recovery center to handle the load. It was too risky. If something fails, they lose both data centers. But that's the way they run it, for a long time. Then public cloud came. When public cloud came, what they did, okay, we can share workloads between on-premise and public cloud. So when the on-premise servers become full in capacity, the workload will start transferring to public cloud. That is called cloud bursting. We did cloud bursting for 3-4 years because customers were not comfortable to go to the cloud completely. From 2016-17 onwards, almost every company, right, wanted to move to cloud. Now cloud comes with DR. It has this inbuilt global load balancing functionality, and all those things. The beautiful features they have. They're very beautiful. So the public cloud is picking up momentum because customers don't want to go through those DR and DCP exercises again and again. I don't think. So high availability, fault tolerance, these facilities are driving that public cloud model for non-functional factors. Now, what is high availability? First thing, right? So you have six servers. The service must be highly available all the time. That's it. You put a load balancer in front of it. You can connect the servers with some clusters. It is highly available for the customers, right? With application servers, you can do some session replication. For example, you have banking application. You log in and working on the banking application. Your session is pinned to the first server. If the first server fails, then your transaction should still go through. You should not. The system should not kick you out, right? Your session is replicated across all 6 servers. So if the first server fails, your session is still valid for the second and third server. You can complete the transaction. That's why the banking application works with session affinity and session replication. That is high availability. But the problem with the on-premise high availability, it does not have the elasticity. You have 6 servers, right? 6 servers uses 6,000 users. What will happen if it becomes 7,000 users? you're out of capacity. That's a problem. You have to buy the new gear, you have to provision it, or unexpectedly, people get that that latency issues all happen. Then cloud came as a blessing. Cloud has a concept auto scaling. Now imagine the same 6 servers as a 6 virtual machine at the cloud. Then you can define the algorithm, right? The 6 virtual machine can become 12 during the peak load. So what will happen? You have 6,000 users. When during the peak time, it will become 7,000 or 8,000 users. What the auto scaling functionality in the cloud will do, it will add additional virtual machines automatically. Okay, so 6 VM will become 8, 8 will become 9 and 10. So it serves the customer without any issues. Once the peak load ends, what will happen? It will destroy additionally created VMs and go back to 6. So creation of additional VMs is called scale out. That is elasticity, right? You're pulling out, scale out. Then once the demand goes down, that 9 or 10 VMs goes to the original shape, that is a 6 VM, that is scale in. Like elastic tape, right? You pull out, scale out. Then you leave it, it goes to the original, just like yoga pant, right? You put a yoga pant. When your weight goes up and down, you can still wear the same pant, that is elasticity. Similarly, when the weight increases on the servers, the VMs will increase. When the weight goes down, the VMs will decrease. Scale out, scale in, that is all about elasticity. So we spoke about high availability, behind a load balancer cluster, session replication, high availability. We spoke about elasticity. I always say one thing, right? Elasticity is the father, high availability is the child.
Child.
Without setting up high availability, you cannot set up elasticity, right? So elasticity contains high availability components. Now we talk about fault tolerance, right? Fault tolerance is completely different concept, right? People use it interchangeably, but still we have to know the difference very well. Imagine a 2-engine aeroplane. The pilot, pilot flies the aeroplane. Suddenly one engine fails. Then what will happen, Joe?
The plane will still operate.
Still operate because other engine is running, right? He can safely land. That is called fault tolerance, right? Always think about 2. If one fails, other will work fine, right? It will still function and take you that one. So data center, we have the rack, right? We have 2 power cables with completely two different power lines. If one power line fails, other will take off, right? You don't lose a server. That is fault tolerance. We have 2 different internet connection, right? That also we take it from 2 different providers. AT&T one internet and Verizon is another internet. If the cable fails, that's fine, right? For AT&T, we have 2 cables, right? If one cable fails, AT&T still work. If AT&T servers completely gone down at the internet gateway, Verizon will still work for the providers. So this is always either or is fault tolerance. It is not high availability. So fault tolerance, high availability, this elasticity, these 3 components are driving the cloud a lot.
That's nice to know, Lawrence. And you know what? We have been talking for last 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We even haven't spoken a single service provider of a cloud, whether it is Azure or Google or AWS.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the uniqueness about you and some of the sessions which we had, and compared to what I continue to see in the internet era or in all these online courses. They don't talk about the foundation first, and they straight away go into spin up a VM and this and that and all those things. So now, as part of this, it is an evidence that we have spoken almost like 40 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
but we haven't touched upon yet a single service name of a particular cloud provider. And this is why I keep telling people that when you want to learn something, make sure that your foundation is strong.
Yes.
If your foundation is not strong, there is no point of learning this. Now, today, if you ask, I still continue to teach people in the sense that what is private cloud? I ask them what's the difference between elasticity, fault tolerance, and availability.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, Lawrence, how they stumble upon when they start explaining to me, actually.
Yeah.
What I'll do is, Lawrence, you spoke a lot about this in your UDEMY course, and I would like to give that audience the link of your UDEMY course.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm posting our audience in the chat. So this is the course link. If you haven't got a copy of this, I would strongly recommend all of you to go and without a doubt, just watch this series. It's not only will help you to learn about cloud, although it says that it is Azure Foundation, but as you have been listening so far into our conversation, it clarifies a lot of things, and then you can replicate that into some of the other things. And in a moment, I will talk with Lawrence about what are those other things. So this is the link which I just posted, Lawrence, to the audience. If anybody is interested, then go ahead and get a copy. Share this link with your friend circle. If anybody want to know about cloud, I would strongly recommend that. And then you can see the review comments, and those are the genuine review comments, not the flattery ones, that okay, somebody just writing for the sake of writing with all this high flying review comments. These are the genuine review comments which people have written in the UDMI website. Now, coming back to on this, Lawrence, you spoke about agreements, lot of audit, legal, compliance, and all those things. You spoke about it when Ravi asked a question about trust factor. So would you like to talk about in terms of, and you spoke about the availability. How does this Azure SLA works? Do they have some kind of concept of SLA to their clients?
Of course, they have SLA, Service Level Agreement. Azure is very clear about it. I would say the Azure Service Level Agreement is very visible than other two cloud providers. They're very open about it. Azure Service Level Agreements, guarantees you 99.5% availability for their services, right? Whatever they put in the document, like, they're managing the virtual machines, firewalls, network, and backend storage services. They give that one. One other thing with Azure, right, that they say it very beautifully, right? You can have one VM. That's enough for you to have the 99.5% availability, provided if you use the premium storage. So those type of, the services are very good for singleton application. Sometimes the customer can use only one VM, right? They can't replicate the application to VM, but they still need high availability. Previous days, what we did, we had the hardware cluster, right? We had one server, and we had the floating IP. If the hardware server fails, it fail over to the second server with the same thing. A lot of work we did to the data center. Today, the cloud in Azure made it very simple. You provision one virtual machine, you deploy the application, you choose the premium storage that will still give you 99% availability for the application. Now, you are responsible for application, doesn't matter what, right? Once you put the application as Azure, the customer is responsible for the application, right? They take care of the infrastructure. Azure provides something called composite SLAs. For example, you have application running on the virtual machine, you have a SQL server running at the back end. SQL server, they give 99.5, but the application has only 95.5% availability. So even if one component fails, the end user will get the outage, right, Joe? So what they have to do, they have to combine, multiply them, then find the right SLA number for them. So there is a composite SLAs. So even though it is a composite SLA, and every component of the composite SLA is governed by the specific SLA agreement. You can't interchange it. You can't interchangeably talk about it. So SLA, they give very good SLA. They also have composite SLA to cover 2 or 3, maybe 10 layers. Customers are having 10, 15 layers. So we have to have the right architecture practice to find the SLAs, write down this RTO, and find what is better for us, and accept the facts that what they give us.
Okay, that's nice to know in terms of the service availability and in terms of the SLA.
Yes.
So I have posted the link to the group audience. If anybody haven't got the link, it's on the message chat. So let me know. With this, the Q&A, I have one final question to you, Lawrence, and then we will talk about this. Today, apart from the cloud, everybody is talking about, this X as a service. I don't want to see everything into one. but you just give me the component level, and then we call it as the microservice concept. Now, in your view, along with the cloud, all these cloud providers, do they have such kind of facilities? Something like Kubernetes and all. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Exactly, right. The Kubernetes services are growing because customer wants containers. Not only the customers, right? The industry is completely changed. We have the COTS products, right? Recently, I see a lot of COTS products. Every COTS product is containerized today, right? Even though it don't work on Kubernetes, we run standalone. So containers are dominating the market very well. COVID-19, slowed down our progress a little bit. But again, after once this chaos ends, I believe containers will ramp up again in a lightning speed. So they need an orchestration layer that is Kubernetes. Kubernetes is open source, and installing Kubernetes and managing is a very, very hard part for a lot of customers. So these cloud providers, Azure, AWS, and GCP, they came up with a managed Kubernetes concepts. So Azure has Amazon EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Services. People can go in and host the containers, and GKE, Google Kubernetes Engine. They also got the managed service. Azure gives 6 or 7 different container services. Again, I would say it happened accidentally. They started in 2016 with without Kubernetes. They came up with a concept Azure Container Instances, ACI. This ACI concept, you have to understand for the certification purpose. Very important. You will get a question out of it. So the ACI concept, right? How they do it, right? You come up with your own container. You simply go to the console and push the container to the console. The orchestration layer is not visible to the customer. So you can simply put the container, you can start using it. Then once Kubernetes started becoming famous, Azure came up with the concept of Azure Kubernetes Services. It's a very beautiful concept. So what they have, Kubernetes have master nodes and worker nodes. Master nodes, control the complete worker nodes for deployment, scheduling, provisioning of security, rollback control, and everything. Usually, we provision 3 master nodes for high availability. If one master node fails, second one will work. The third one will become back up to the second one. We provision 3 master nodes. Managing master nodes in Kubernetes is not an easy job for a lot of customers. It needs a lot of skill set, resources to manage them. So what Azure did, they say, right, we call it control plan. 3 master nodes or 4, whatever it is, the master nodes are called control plan. What they say, right, control plan we manage. So if you log on to Azure Kubernetes Services, you don't see the control plan. They will manage at the back end. They will update, they will patch it, they will recycle. Azure monitor the master nodes, the control plan. The customer, that's you, have access to the worker nodes where you host your container application. You can log in, you can patch it, you can modify it, whatever you want, you can do with that one. So they divide as two parts. So the master panel, the master nodes, the control plan is a managed service, managed by the cloud provider. Platform as a service component. Worker node is yours. It is coming up well for Azure. Later they went with another form of PaaS service for Kubernetes. AKS is doing well. Then they made partnership with Red Hat OpenShift. So what you could do, you can go to the Azure Marketplace, you can pay money to OpenShift, and you can start provisioning OpenShift Azure Cloud. That is called ARO, Azure Red Hat OpenShift. Here also, right, Red Hat and Azure manage the master node. You can manage the worker node. So OpenShift is stable Kubernetes platform. So Azure is providing them as a managed service.
Okay, that's nice to know. So Lawrence, are we looking forward, or are we expecting something similar to what you said on the cloud? I really like this analogy of elasticity as a father, availability as a son. Yeah. So similar to that, are you coming up with any session on the Kubernetes? I know you have a YouTube channel also, right? In the moment, if you could push that in the chat channel also for the audience. Yeah. I was watching one of your recent video on this container and Kubernetes. It was nice. So are you coming up with anything on that also, Lawrence?
Yes, Joe, I plan to put a Docker Kubernetes course at Udemy this August 1st. In a week time,
okay.
I am going to do that. The reason I'm doing it, right, I want that I want people to get benefit out of it. It is a free course. It's a free course for 2 hours. I'm going to explain about containers, especially Docker and Kubernetes. I always say one thing, right? Kubernetes is the gun. Docker is the bullet. Right? A bullet can't operate independently. You need a gun. So
Okay.
that's right. So you can imagine the bullet as a container, right? The gunpowder is the application and the shell is the container. Then once you put that into the gun, what the gun does to the bullet, it does 10, 15 different things. You choose the direction, it has the trigger, it has the chamber to empty it. It also, give you the right velocity to shoot, right? So that's what gun does. Similarly, right, imagine containers and Kubernetes in the cloud. Container is a single component. When you send the container through Kubernetes to the cloud, Kubernetes, does, 100 different things to your container. It replicates the container. It chooses where you have to deploy the containers, rolling update, deployment plans, security, rollback control. It does, 100 different things to it. So whenever, you want to have the right analogy for the container and Kubernetes, container is the bullet, that is Docker, and Kubernetes is the gun. Yeah, I will send the course link to all of you by August 1st once I publish. So it's a free course. Please go through it and let me know how that looks.
Wow, that's nice. I really like this analogy of container versus Kubernetes. I do ask my friends, and they say that if container is a bullet, Kubernetes is a silver bullet, actually. And that's a good one. So, Lawrence, I will now take questions from the audience to see if they have any questions on this, and then we will continue that. So I will open it up for the audience. Whoever has a question, just say your name and ask your question.
Hi, Lawrence.
Hi.
Sanjay this side.
Hi, Sanjay.
So actually, I'm very new to cloud. So I just wanted to know, like, if anybody wants to start with the learning process and, of course, the certification, then what are the different levels available from the certification point of view from foundation level? Like, level 1 or level 2. I don't know that kind of hierarchy in certification. What are the different levels available in certification, and how person start approaching to that?
Okay, there are no levels actually, right? Microsoft, even the AZ-900 certification is not a mandatory certification to go for other certifications. Everything is individual certification. But I would, if you start a cloud, I would recommend AZ-900 for you, because Microsoft, made a very beautiful syllabus for AZ-900. Even, sometimes I see the AWS, cloud practitioner as a fundamental certification for AWS, but the word cloud practitioner, scared a lot of people. They did not want to go for that, practitioner certification. They wanted to hear something, fundamentals. That's when, Microsoft AZ-900 became very famous. The syllabus is set up in such a way, they have the cloud computing concepts, whatever we spoke as of now, right? We covered everything in my course, right? I covered more than 20 non-functional factors in my course at Udemy. Then they talk about Azure solutions and services. They talk about pricing. By learning this course, not only you develop knowledge for Azure and cloud computing concepts, you can apply the same knowledge in other cloud. So in order to clear your doubt, you want to start now, I would say, start with the AZ-900. That will give you some light. That will shed some light into your cloud career ambition.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So what Lawrence said, Sanjay, that is absolutely right. So, like you, I was like you last year. And even though I started my journey, I was confused until I found Lawrence and we started from the foundation. So if you are planning, then go ahead, start from Azure, as Lawrence said. Go ahead with that, the course, write a certification just to validate your knowledge, and then you can kick off from there actually.
Yeah. Really, thank you for that information. Actually, one of my friend is already part of your group, and I just keep on watching whatever you people put in LinkedIn. So I'm really like very kind of excited and to see all those things happening. So
Okay.
from there, even I also thought, like it's a good time to start with, where such nice people like Lawrence and you or everybody, putting this information available to everybody, right, without any hesitation, so that people can be aware and then they can plan their journey further. So yeah, really thankful for that.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sanjay, for that nice compliments. Thank you for that. Anyone else have any questions? Or I will pick up the name as usual style, Lawrence. And
Yeah, sure.
Hi, I am Thiru here.
Hi, Thiru.
Hi, I have a question regarding this difference between this private and the community one, because I feel like the community is like another kind of a private cloud, right? I mean, you are trying to create a cloud which is only for a specific set of group or people, right? So is there any other like a fine line difference between that? So that is one question. And the second question is the one you talked about, the public private cloud. So in that case as well, it's like the public cloud provider will have a separate way of connectivity or like a private connection with the organization or something like that. So when you say a public private cloud, what is the difference it makes when compared to a common public cloud?
Okay. I would say private cloud is dedicated for an organization or for a state government. The community cloud is shared by 6 or 7 or more than 10 organizations with similar functionalities. I said Ivy League universities like this Harvard, Stanford, Yale University, they all have the same chart of admission process and data management. So they all build their own cloud. So all 3 universities goes into one cloud, that is community cloud. So the community cloud is a public cloud for these 3 universities. Private cloud, is not shared. Most of the time, it is dedicated to a specific organization. I set up a private cloud for FedEx in 2016. FedEx have 3 or 4 divisions, right? They have FedEx Ground, FedEx Air, and FedEx Sea also. They have it in places. So for all 3 units, they wanted to build a private cloud. It is owned by FedEx, but 3 units have the different budget, different chart of requirements. So we built a private cloud for FedEx for all 3 units. So in the high level, you can think of private cloud is dedicated to one organization. Community cloud is dedicated. Community cloud is the public cloud for similar organization. But the concept is not applicable when you come to banking, right? Banking, even though this Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase and all have their own private cloud, they have their own way of accessing things. Like they want the data center and land, of course, but they can't see the machines. They have the different area to enter into data center and access them. So you have to see from a specific context of the business requirement. And the second question, what is your question? The dedicated connectivity. Okay, so private cloud is growing now. Even customers don't want to build the private cloud with a third-party provider. So what companies like Microsoft does, they come up with a concept called bring your own key, BYOK. So we go to Chicago, we have a concept called bring your own beer. You can buy a beer, you can go inside anywhere and you can drink. Similarly, bring your own key. You can you have access to the complete physical server at the back end. So the provider can't get into the server by any means. So that is the private cloud inside the public cloud. So you have VPN solutions like Express Route to have a dedicated connection. That's the way you can connect your on-premise with the with the public cloud, Azure.
So it will be just like in the public cloud data center, they will be given a specific space over there to use their part of that organization. Is it like something like that?
It depends how much money you pay. Right?
Okay.
The companies, pay, they ask for a separate location, separate rack space. They can ask for it, right? I need 3 racks in that area. They can give you. Based upon the money you give, they'll allocate for you.
Okay. Thanks.
No problem.
I will take one last question on this series. If anybody have anything or any question.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Lawrence. Thanks for this session.
Hi, Shiva.
And is there Azure will be more comfortable with the .NET application if I want to keep CI/CD, or it will be comfortable with any Java application? If I was surrounded with a Java application, how you will suggest me to choose the cloud?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a good question, Shiva. So for a very long time, Azure, struggled to gain momentum because customers thought, only .NET applications are eligible for Azure Cloud. They had that initial glitch. Microsoft application go to .NET and Java application go to AWS. That's the perception. It is not true. You have to see Azure as a cloud company, right? We should not think about Microsoft when it comes to Azure. Of course, they use the products more comfortably. They have a license for it. At the same time, Azure supports everything. They support Linux, they support Windows, they support Java, Python, and everything. And they want to make it like, the real cloud company. They're very successful. They're very successful in the last 2-3 years time frame, right? They provide almost every facility what Google Cloud and AWS provide these days. So not just .NET, you can host any application Azure. You can host Linux also. Recently, I implemented a machine learning solution for a client. It's called Azure Computer Vision. It reads the data. It reads the data in the image. Extract the data, store to the database. That's what it does. The container is a Linux-based container. So when I went and gave them the Linux-based solution, they had a little hard time to take it. They say, we come from Azure. It is a Linux container. Are you sure? Yes, it is working Linux only. Azure is also supporting Linux predominantly. So when it comes to this Azure Cloud, Shiva, we have to forget Microsoft and see Azure as a regular cloud company like GCP and AWS.
Sure. Oh, thanks.
No problem.
Okay, thank you all. So before we conclude, from the audience, anybody want to say anything for this session or an overall?
Yeah, this is Louis.
Hi, Louis. Long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and it's been busy at work, and it's about time for me to go back.
I hear you. Busy time for you, right? During the time you're very busy. I know your profile. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good, you're busy.
Well, yeah, it's a blessing that at least I still have a job, and from time to time I go to your LinkedIn to see what's going on, and that's where I get to know this meeting. I mean, it's about time for me to go back to studies and hopefully get certified at the end of the month, because I've been rescheduling. Supposed to be like back in June, but I always give myself like 2 weeks to cram. I mean, no. I mean, with work. So now I had it scheduled Friday of next week.
Very nice.
Hopefully.
But, you had to. You call me. I will coach you. Call me. I will make sure you'll pass.
Oh yeah, thank you.
No
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Joe, for setting this up.
No problem, Louis. I think if you are struggling to reschedule, then you are more than welcome to join our group. You will see me ranting daily.
It's a lot of things. I mean, the confidence, it's not there yet. and work.
You,
But,
you talk to us, Louis. Good. I know you for some time. You talk to us, and we will definitely help you to build certain things. And Joe is really good to push people to write certification. So
cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence, for the compliment. Anybody
No,
want to say anything from the audience? Okay, if not, then I thank all of you, the audience, for your time based on your country zone, taking the time and coming and listening to Lawrence for the last 1 hour. I also posted the UDEMY course link, and I wish you all the best for your learning on cloud. And go ahead and get a copy of this video course. Wait for the upcoming Kubernetes series, which Lawrence has just mentioned. And then, yeah, continue learning. The future is about cloud, DevOps, microservices. I can see that in whatever industry you are going to work, or in whatever country you are in, that's the future. Few of us are in Singapore. I can clearly see that future, and rest of the world, as I'm hearing, that's the way it is. So go ahead, crack the certification, learn, and then be future ready. Thank you.
All right. And thank you everyone
thank
for
you, Lawrence.
joining.
Thank you,
Please, please, keep looking at my LinkedIn page. I keep posting a lot of materials and stuff. And one of the things with this COVID-19 lockdown, I have a lot of time in my hand. That's the one thing. So we do this stuff, and you have the link for the Udemy course. Buy this course, and it will be very useful to you. You will pass the certification by going through the course, and also send that link to your friends, so we can all benefit out of it. And Joe and myself, plan to conduct at least 1 or 2 sessions per month like this. So please keep watching our space, and you will we'll all do it together. And thank you for joining. Good luck.